Hi Year 4, welcome to your second video of the week. I hope you guys all got on okay with the tasks on Monday and Tuesday. We are going to carry on looking at area for the next couple of days. We're going to look at some different methods to calculate the area of rectilinear shapes. Make sure you're practicing your times tables because those are going to be very useful for you in the next couple of days. Remember, you can email me and Miss Carter if you have any questions or want to show us any photos of the work that you've been doing. It's been really nice to see what you guys have been up to so far, and it gives us lots of things to share on our newsletters. So good luck, and I can't wait to see how you get on. So, like I said, we are going to carry on measuring area, but for the next couple of days, we are going to be measuring area in centimetres squared. So we're not just counting squares anymore, we're going to be using a unit of measurement. So let's just recap the skills that you were using on Monday and Tuesday. I've got a rectangle on the grid here. I want you to pause the video and use your knowledge of arrays and counting arrays to tell me how many squares this rectangle has as its area. So I can see that it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares going along its length, and it's got 1, 2, 3 squares down. That means it's got 3 rows of 5 squares. So I can use my multiplication fact, 3 times 5, to quickly work out that this rectangle has an area of 15 squares. Now, like I said, we are going to be using a very specific unit of measurement for measuring our area, centimetres squared today. Now that means on a grid, if we had our squares, you can see that each square has got a measurement of 1 centimetre long and 1 centimetre wide. That means the whole of the square covers a space of 1 centimetre squared. So if I looked at this rectangle up here in the top left-hand corner, I'm going to show you how we can calculate the area in centimetres squared. So I know that each square is worth 1 centimetre squared. I can see that it's got 1, 2, 3 of those centimetres squared going down its width, and it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 of the centimetres squared going along its length. Now, just like before, I'm going to use my knowledge of arrays and multiplication to work out how many centimetres squared there are altogether. So I'm going to do 3 multiplied by 4, which is equal to 12. So I know that this rectangle has an area of 12 centimetres squared. And that little 2 up there means it's squared. So can you use your knowledge of multiplication and arrays to work out the area in centimetres squared of this rectangle and this rectangle? Pause the video and have a go. So we start up in this top right hand corner. I'm going to count how many centimetres squared along there are and how many of the squares down there are. So along, which would be our width or our breadth, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4. And along its length, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I need to do 4 multiplied by 5, which is equal to 20. So this rectangle has an area of 20 centimetres squared. Well done if you got that one. If we look at this next one, I'm going to count along the length, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And along its width, I've got 2. So I'm going to do 2 times 7, which is equal to 14. So this rectangle has an area of 14 centimetres squared. Now, what if we can't see the squares on the rectangle? What if we can't just count the squares? So here on this rectangle, I got it on a square grid. I can't see the squares inside the rectangle. So I'm going to have to use some measurements I'm given to work out the area of this rectangle. I can see in my key that each square is worth 1 centimetre squared. That means that each square has a length of 1 centimetre and a width of 1 centimetre. So I'm going to use the surrounding squares to measure how many centimetres long my rectangle is and how many centimetres wide it is. So I'm going to use my squares. I'm going to count along its length. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this has got a length of 6 centimetres. I'm now going to count its width using the squares next to it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has a width of 5 centimetres. So now I know how many centimetres long there are and how many centimetres wide there are. I'm going to use my multiplication, as I was doing before, to calculate the area. So I'm going to do 6 multiplied by 5, or 5 multiplied by 6. And I know that that is equal to 30. So this rectangle has an area of 30 centimetres squared. Now there might be some questions where your rectangle doesn't have a grid next to it at all. You may just be given the measurements of your rectangle. It's exactly the same skill that we are going to use. We're going to use our multiplication to multiply the length by the width to calculate the area of that rectangle. So I can see that we've got 6 centimetres length, 4 centimetres width. Okay, that means I need to do 6 multiplied by 4, or 4 multiplied by 6. You could use your 4 times table, you can use your 6 times table, whichever one you feel more confident in. I know that 6 multiplied by 4, or 4 multiplied by 6, is equal to 24. And because I can see the measurement was centimetres, I know that it's 24 centimetres squared.